all we get in this life are choices. Choices on how we'll spend our time, how we'll spend our money, what we'll give our focus to, what we will do in each situation, how we will show up. All we ever get out of this life is the choices and then the consequences of these choices. And yet, everyone wants to pass the buck. Everybody wants to kick it along to someone else and blame their life and their circumstances on God, fate, the universe, how they were born, their parents, their whatever it might be. But I've spoken about this many times, and it's still the one that is the hardest pill to swallow and yet delivers the greatest truth. The day you realize that your life is 100% your fault. That everything you have in this world is down to you and your choices. And when you own this fact, and when you accept this reality, you are set free. Because this life is built on our choices. Our choices on our actions, our choices on our habits, our choices on our thoughts. It's down to the choices we make. And yeah, I understand that a majority of our choices, probably 95%, are subconscious, because we're just playing out the patterns. But within that, you can then go ahead and make different choices. You can make different decisions. You can show up differently by making a new choice. I was talking to a client today, and we're talking about their posture. It doesn't seem like a big thing, but it is. It's one of those things that, it's how you show up. It's how you appear to the world. If you're rounded and you're small and all this kind of stuff, it sends an instant message. It's the same concept as, your physique. These are those subliminal messages that you're sending to the world without ever knowing, without ever thinking about it, without any thought process of where you're at. These are the messages that you send. So one of the things that we build into it is good posture. It's just a better thing. It's going to lead to you feeling better, less pain in shoulders and neck, all these kinds of things. But even down to instant, perceived results, the difference between this position and that chest open, that big chest, matters. But as we were talking about it, they were like, it doesn't seem to be working, but I keep catching myself. And I was like, awareness is probably 50% of their battle. That suddenly become aware of how you're presenting. You're aware of these positions, aware of the situation that you place yourself in. Correcting, muscle imbalances, patterns, all these kinds of things. A lot of the battle, to quote Yogi Berra, which is still one of my favorite, the best ones, 90% of this is 90% of the game is 50% mental. Because there's fucking truth in that statement. Despite it being a ridiculous notion. But how you then present and show up matters. How you present and show up is really important. But to get there starts with being aware of the situation that you're in. Being aware of the choices that you make. And a lot of them are very small and feel minute and feel like they don't matter and feel like a nothing thing. But the little decisions build into massive life choices. Well, the tree falls the way it leans. You didn't wake up one day 30 kilos overweight. You didn't wake up one day disgusted with the man in the mirror. That was 1,000, 10,000 micro decisions made. And to get out of it is the same in reverse. There's thousands of micro decisions made over and over and over again. But it starts with that first choice, that first decision, that first moment. And this is that thing, that our whole life, our whole world is built on our choices. So if you want something different, make a different decision. Make a different choice. And yeah, again, we come into those ones where people are like, well, what about, my circumstances? Well, life is 10% what happens to you and 90% of how you respond to it. Some people get upset and get defensive and put their head in the sand and want to run away from these situations. Or others take them on, head on, and go, I won't let this beat me. I won't let this stop me. We have the choices, we have the capacity. It comes down to what we're willing to do and what we're willing to choose. Bar like full-blown, the most extreme circumstances like, missing limbs or traumatic brain injuries or things like this, or, life-altering diseases, you have the capacity and the ability to change your life and make it better. And even in those situations, there's probably choices you could make to make them better, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about, you. We're talking about you in this moment. You have the capacity to build a better life. You have the capacity to do it. The question is, are you willing to pay the price of investment? The price of change. And you might decide, as I said to you the other day, you might decide that the price is too high. But own the decision that you made that choice. Again, it comes back to choices. You could have anything you want. You can build anything you want. The question is, what will you have to give up along the way? And I think when we reframe it and look at it in the terms of choices and the decisions that we're making, well, it makes a really large difference to how you phrase it. Like I said to you the other day, using the phrase, it's not a priority, is a very, very different statement and a very different way of showing up than going, I can't do that. You could be in great shape. You could. You could have world-class discipline. You could. You could become the man that you want to be. You could build the physique, the life, the relationships, the business, everything you want. You could. You're choosing not to. Because it doesn't matter enough. The priority isn't there. I've said it before, I don't understand that as a life choice, but at least be honest about it. Be honest that you are choosing this path. And I think that's part of it as well, that you need to wrap your head around it. You aren't happy with your body. If you're fat, if you're out of shape, if you don't like where you're currently at with that, you have chosen that. Nobody else chose that for you. You chose that. And I've been there, and I chose it. And I was disgusted with myself, and I had to take responsibility for it. I was 33 kilos overweight. 33 kilos. But I chose that. Not only did I choose it, I chose not just once, but I chose it over and over and over and over again. That's how I ended up there. That's how I got there, and it's how you got there too. Wherever you're in life, whether it is the most incredible fucking life under the sun, or you hate it and you are disgusted with where you're at and you want to build something different, wherever it is, you chose that. And you continue to choose it every single day by making the same choices over and over and over again. And it is the most uncomfortable truth, because when you recognize that you are choosing the hell that you are living in, this place that you don't want to be, this discomfort that you don't want to have, this situation that makes you miserable, you are choosing it. Nobody else forced this upon you. Nobody else put you in that situation. Nobody else made your life this way. you did. And then you continue to choose it over and over and over again. So if you aren't happy with that, maybe you need to start getting uncomfortable. Maybe you need to start making uncomfortable decisions and speaking uncomfortable truths that you aren't happy with the choices that you're making. Because also you're the only one that can get you out of that situation. You are the only one who can change that setup. You are the only one who can fix it. These are your choices. These are your prerogatives. These are your opportunities. You're the only one who can change this life. You're the only one who can make a different decision here. But you have to make the decision. And you have to take ownership of it. For as long as you abdicate responsibility, for as long as you blame others and other circumstances for it, well, you're going to stay stuck. But we live in a world where it's not only is it acceptable to abdicate your responsibility, it's the norm. So you have to buck the system. Not only do you have to take ownership of all the shit in your life, but you have to stand out and be different and be weird and potentially be judged. I was talking about it at basketball last night. I was saying, I was talking to the ref and he was like, oh, if that guy gets his earring ripped out, I get sued. And I was like, how is that your fault? And he's like, because I should have forced him to take it out. Abdication of responsibility. You did something stupid and you suffered the consequences. But we want someone to blame. We want someone to place the blame on and the discomfort on, and that we don't take responsibility for our own decisions, that it's not our fault, it's someone else's. But for as long as you want to abdicate the responsibilities, as long as you want to kick it to someone else, you are going to stay stuck and you are going to continue to have problems. There is only one person who can fix your life, and that one person is you. But only if you're willing to make different decisions. Only if you're willing to take full acceptance of your choices and realize that it is all your fault. Because all we have in this life is choices. So the question becomes, are you going to start making a different choice? Are you going to start demanding greatness of yourself?